Welcome, scholars, to the Virginia Earth System Science Scholars course. In this course, we're going to study the Earth, which you see right in front of you in this video. And you can see right now what we're going to be studying with the Earth. We're going to be looking at the Earth as a whole system, which is a system, of course, is made up of interconnected parts, all of which have an effect on each other. And here we can see the atmosphere, the hydrosphere, the biosphere, and the lithosphere, all in one lovely image of the Earth provided to us by NASA. And that is how we're going to learn, how we're going to figure out how to understand these systems, these spheres of the Earth, because NASA is going to provide us the data to do that. So, of course, NASA's data is providing us with better understandings of how hurricanes work, the effects of wildfires and why they occur. NASA is providing us better understanding of how humans behave on the planet, especially with respect to our interactions with all of the spheres. But here's looking at wildfires, but also looking at campfires at night and looking at light pollution, for instance, here, among other things. This is South America, a portion of South America, of course, at night. This was actually when the Amazon was burning at one point in many places. NASA gives us a better understanding of how carbon dioxide is distributed in the atmosphere and what carbon dioxide concentrations do in the atmosphere as seasons progress, especially looking at what happens in the northern hemisphere when the plants come out on the trees. When deciduous plants grow trees, carbon dioxide comes out of the atmosphere. This is an important thing to understand because of course, with deforestation, carbon dioxide, not as much of it comes out of the atmosphere. And of course, humans are increasing carbon dioxide all the time. How do we understand it? We got to collect the data and then we can model it. Right? So what we're looking at primarily is understand the Earth as a system, as a whole of a bunch of interconnected parts. The parts we're going to be looking at specifically, we're going to give names: lithosphere, the biosphere, this is the solid Earth, the living Earth, if you will, the atmosphere, the gaseous Earth, the hydrosphere, the liquid Earth, and then we do pull out out of the cryosphere, or out of the atmosphere and hydrosphere, the cryosphere, which is the frozen Earth. We could pull out the anthroposphere as well. But for this course, these are the 5 spheres we'll look at, especially when it comes to Summer Academy. So NASA's studying these 5 spheres all the time. Here's a list of topics that they're looking at. You can pause the video to look at it in more detail, and it is not an exhaustive list. NASA's got some fabulous missions going on up there in space and in the atmosphere with planes and other things. Not all satellites. Many of these missions have instruments that are all over the place collecting data. And so a lot of them are looking at how we better understand the system itself and how things that force changes in that system, such as solar radiation, greenhouse gas concentrations, aerosols in the atmosphere, among other things, change the system as a whole, and how those changes affect other parts of the system and feed back on those other parts of the system, and cause changes. So some feedbacks reinforce the initial forcing. So sunlight, melting ice creates a change in the Earth's albedo, which because now you have more dark colored ocean than you had light colored ice. So more of the sun's energy is absorbed. And so the climate warming that was already happening is reinforced by by additional absorption of solar energy and by the oceans. That's a reinforcing feedback. Other feedbacks balance. That's an amplifying feedback. Sorry. Other feedbacks balance or reinforce the system as it was. Sometimes, though, the system gets to a point where things tip, and you go from what was the system understanding you had, a balance, a dynamic equilibrium, to a new reality. And we want to understand these things with our NASA data and understand the Earth system better so that we know where these tipping points are and where we might be going once we reach them. This is especially important when we look at Earth's planetary boundaries, which we'll talk about another time. All right, lithosphere missions. The NASA is studying the solid Earth through missions like GRACE and Landsat, looking at mass distribution and geomorphology and land cover. We're looking at sea ice, land ice, from satellite, from space, and from planes. NASA's looking at the hydrosphere, salinity variation, sea level variation, among other things. NASA's looking at our atmosphere, looking at gas distributions, looking at moisture distributions, and how big storms behave. NASA's looking at the biosphere, looking at changes in plant life, respiration of plants, and so forth, and the stress that humans are causing on the biosphere. And our portion of the biosphere and the effects we're causing directly on these other spheres. In this course, you're going to learn all about this, and especially focusing on NASA missions as you're doing so. Each module will include these items, and which have already been talked about in the course orientation, introductory material and videos, reference materials. This video is a part of all of that. There'll be a paper, there'll be a lab activity, a quiz, and a questionnaire. So in order to move on to the second module, you have to complete all of that, and you'll have 2 weeks for each module in general, with a final project to wrap it all up. All right, I look forward to joining you on this adventure and walking with you as you do. Have a great time.